Good afternoon. It's time to talk real estate with Laura Bramnick from talkrealestateaz.com. Laura Bramnick is an attorney licensed through the State Bar of Arizona. She's also a real estate agent licensed here in Arizona. Also a certified instructor with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. She's also a consumer advocate for her clients. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Sinclair.
Good to see you again. Talkrealestateaz.com, that's the website. And it's a good website to remember because Laura can help in all sorts of different ways, whether it's residential, commercial, land transactions, whether it's buying or selling real estate, or if you have a problem and need some assistance with a legal issue related to real estate.
That's correct.
480-624-2705, 480-624-2705. Laura, I know you work in commercial as well as residential and land.
Yes.
Commercial, anybody who's ever done a lease in commercial, hopefully they don't try and do it themselves more than once.
Yeah, the ones that I review, they're all like 30 to 60 pages, so just the volume. Most of them are in small type and more legalese than I care to read.
And more than most people would have any chance of understanding.
And I think if you're a small business, not all small businesses are more vulnerable than big ones, but most are, you know, and so especially like if you're a family-run business, so you really need to be aware of some of the terms of the contract that can affect you to the point that they could put you out of business. And so one of the big ones is whether whether a competing business can go in to your shopping center or office building.
Right. If you have a small hardware store, you wouldn't want to have a Home Depot open up right next to you.
No, or a sub shop, or you know, a hairdresser. And so, but there's other businesses too. Now, there's some businesses where it's not unusual. Like if I go into an office building, I might see 2 CPAs. I might see 2 different real estate companies. But the other types of businesses where you really just need your own area, so to speak,
Sure.
of customers because you draw from the local area, you know, a dry cleaners, you know, those types of businesses. So you want to read in the lease whether they can lease to another business that's similar to yours, and then what does similar mean? You know, if you're a hair salon, can they put in a men's barber shop, or can they put in another hair salon that might be a discount hair salon? Do you know what I'm saying? And so you have to look at the language carefully. And if your lease is silent, you want to make sure that you put something in there.
That's right. You can change the negotiation around by adding your own terminology on issues that are important to you.
You know, I just moved my office, and I really thought that all big office buildings were run by big conglomerates and that there was little or no negotiation. But I found that the particular office building where I moved to is owned by a family, and it's made such a big difference with being able to negotiate directly with a representative of this family rather than a big corporate conglomerate, you know.
And by the way, we should mention that your new office is over just off the 101 at Raintree.
Yes. And
conveniently located.
Yes, and it's been great. I mean, but you know, I just assumed that any building I was going to go into was going to have the same limits in terms of what size lease I was going to have, what term lease I was going to have to have, and what maintenance costs I was going to have to pay.
And I think a lot of folks walk into a commercial lease and think, oh, it's boilerplate.
Yeah.
No, it's really not. It's different from landlord to landlord, and as you say, you can bring some of your own terms to the table, and you need to be aware of some of the terms because some of them may be a bit difficult on you. And you need to think about contingency situations. You know, what happens if there's damage to the building? What happens if services are interrupted.
You know, what if there's a fire or a flood?
Yeah,
And you have to close your business? How long do you have to close it for? And most leases have a clause about that, but some leases say, oh, you have to be disrupted for 6 months. Well, if people can't operate their business for 6 months, most people would be out of business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to negotiate the lowest amount of time for that. And you may want to look at even maybe not an ideal location where you can get some of those terms that you need. In other words, you have to weigh the risk rewards.
sure.
And so disruption of services is a big one. Maintenance, because do you have to pay for the repaving of the parking lot? And what if some of the big systems go down, like air conditioning and plumbing and, you know, those types of things.
For that matter, parking issues.
Yes, parking's big.
Parking for staff as well as for customers.
And you know, I know as a consumer, I know the parking lots that I find difficult to navigate.
Uh-huh.
And where I just, you know, it's part of when I run my errands, it's part of what I keep in mind. Is there adequate parking?
Uh-huh.
And is there parking near where I need to go? So, and I've been to office buildings where there's no available parking for a visitor.
Right.
And that to me is unacceptable.
I've been there as well.
Also, do you have a personal guarantee?
Yeah, that comes into play quite often, doesn't it?
It's very, very common, and it's not an unreasonable request, but what if something happens and now they come after you personally? So you want to understand how long is the personal guarantee going to be for. I have been successful in limiting the amount of time. If my client pays on time for a certain amount of months or years, you know, let's say on a 5-year lease, sometimes after 2 or 3 years, the personal guarantee goes away.
Oh.
And again, it depends on who you're negotiating with, but
But if you don't ask, you're not going to get.
right. And also, many people sell their business, and they may have a long-term lease, and so you want to make sure your lease allows you to assign it to the new buyer of your business.
Very important point.
And also something called early termination. What if you die or get disabled? You're still liable, or your estate's still liable for those lease payments. So the best way to protect yourself is, one, ask the landlord under certain circumstances if you can negotiate limits on that.
Mm-hmm.
And two, look to see what insurance is available to protect you. You can get business interruption insurance, you can obviously get life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get disability insurance. So, you know, when people open a small business, I don't think they realize all the costs involved, including what it's going to cost to have an attorney review your documents.
Plain and simple, as we were saying, a commercial lease could be 50, 60 pages. Most people just are not going to understand everything that's in there or be able to negotiate it effectively. However, this is part of what you do as a real estate attorney, and usually you can do it fairly simply. The cost to hire you to review and advise and maybe even negotiate on this is far, far less than problems down the road.
Yes, the problems down the road, landlords can be very aggressive if
Yes.
you have to breach the lease, even unintentionally, like you get sick. And I have people call me all the time and saying, there's nothing I can do, I did my best. Well, contract is a contract. And even if you come on hard times, that is not sufficient reason for the landlord not to try to collect.
Well, we've said ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure when it comes to commercial leases, and especially with small businesses. That is absolutely the case. We also say the devil is in the detail.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of detail in those commercial leases.
And you have to factor in the extra cost of protection in your business plan.
and you probably need to call Laura Bramnick and talk it over. 480-624-2705, 480-624-2705, talkrealestateaz.com, that's the website. All the contact info is there. talkrealestateaz.com, because the devil really is in the details, but Laura Bramnick can be your angel in the fine print.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Laura.
Sinclair.